Hey everybody, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and another episode of Gotham City Chronicles. Tonight we are talking The Vengeance of Bane, and with me as always is my partner in crime on these, Mr. Comic Books NYC. Kavi, what's up, man?
Yo, JP, what's going on? Good to be back. Gotham City Chronicles time. I always prefer it when you host. Less pressure on me.
So you don't have to drive?
Hey, this is like a milestone episode, sort of. 20 episodes.
20. This is our 20th episode of Gotham City Chronicles, which is impressive.
And we got some of our best friends here tonight with us. That'd be pretty cool.
We have a couple of the best people in the community. We're going to start with the man who was rocking out to my theme song backstage. Yes, I could see you, George. What's going on?
What was that, man?
Hey, dude, when that thing hits me right, I feel the music. All right.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you like it. You know, for something I sort of picked at random, people really like it. So I'm glad. I'm glad it worked out. And our other partner in crime tonight, Mr. Bear Island Comics. What's going on? You ready to do this?
No.
No?
Nope.
Yeah.
I need to read mine too.
You're going to read yours too?
It's tough.
He just found out 5 minutes ago that he was going to be on this show.
Yeah.
He's been working on a little movie project that we heard.
You're not strong enough, are you?
No. Physically and mentally, I am weak.
It's not what Kenny said.
All right, we got people in the chat already. We got the Unruly Sidian. What's going on, man? And we got Warlord hanging out with us. I appreciate it, fellas. So, yeah, tonight, as George just showed with his 9.8, put that sucker up there. Here, we'll just make you big for a second. Look at that. Look at all its glory. We are talking The Vengeance of Bane.
That's pretty cool, but can you get this in a slab? Get all that.
Maybe a Golden Age one.
Magazine.
So we are kicking off the early part of the Nightfall run, which is, as Kavi's showing, ginormous, like the whole thing. But we're going to start with just this beginning. Technically, was it 2 issues? I think that's right.
No, it's 164.
Oh, was it 164 thing? Okay. And then the other cover is the second print. That's right. Yeah, the other cover I remember is the second print. But Vengeance of Bane.
I thought there was another issue.
There is a number 2 for this. That is
it's a great one.
Right, but it's not the beginning. It's not the continuation.
It doesn't fall in. Yeah, it's not the same storyline.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what we just read the first part, and then there's that makes sense.
Right, it goes right into Batman 491 is the next part of the story.
It's good that we're working out these details now.
Well, you know hey.
Well, that's why I bought these giant. I bought all 3 volumes of these giant Nightfalls just so I would know the order of the story.
Yeah. Well, I bought them, but I bought like even more because I bought them like 3
or 1 smaller volumes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, thoughts on this? I know the 2 people below us, especially the person directly below me on the screen, really pushed for us to do this part before we did Nightfall, to do Vengeance of Bane. So I'm going to let you talk first, Bear. Why did you want to do Vengeance of Bane?
Probably because I was reading it at the time that I suggested it. And I was like, I could get on the show if I recommend something that I've read. I haven't read a ton of, there's a lot of Batman that I need to catch up on because I wasn't reading comics for so long, but man, 1993, eighth grade Bear was like so into this.
Yeah.
And I think Sword of Azrael probably came out maybe a little earlier or whatever, but like they set up the 2 important new characters for Nightfall, and I love this. Like the cover art's badass with the sort of like the painted. You got Batman in the background, but he's pretty much.
Did Graham Nolan do the cover or just the interior art?
Somebody named Fabry did the cover.
Yeah, Glenn Fabry.
And then, oh my God, Graham Nolan's pencils. Oh my God. It's peak 1993, everything I loved in comics. It captures the emotion and the growth of this character so well. And I think they just did a great job of making you understand why he is so hardened and so, messed up. Like he's been through some shit. And I think it's very consistent with the Bane that we see in the Harley Quinn show.
Exactly. It's exactly the same version for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So what about you, D? What were your first thoughts on rereading this?
One of the things I immediately thought about was DC introduced 2 brand new villains in November of 1992. And both of these villains were designed to destroy their 2 biggest characters. Doomsday got no introduction, which was kind of the point. He was like a man of mystery.
Just had to bring Superman in, didn't you?
No, but Bane is
same timing.
Yeah, the same month, November 92, is when first cameo Doomsday and then Vengeance of Bane came out. But with Bane, they made a whole 64-page issue dedicated just to Bane to give him backstory. And there was deliberateness to that. Like, Bane needed more backstory. Like, there's a lot going on in his head and a lot to explain about why he would be a formidable opponent to Batman. And this issue paints a really big picture as to why Bane could take on Batman. And I didn't read it. I didn't read this before I read Nightfall. Like, I know it's part of it, but like I could imagine reading this and being like, Batman's gonna walk right through this kid and wound up going differently.
Not so much. Well,
Batman even says that in this issue. He's like, get in line.
Yeah, he does say that. Yeah, the you're threatening me, get in line. So, what about you, Kami? What were your first thoughts on?
Well, I think it's a must-have story to cover on a show with a concept like ours, because there's a ton of Batman villains, but there's not a ton of Batman villains that got introduced in the modern era of comics to follow up on George's point, to achieve the level of mainstream sort of whatever you want to call it, awareness, success, recognition, like, not just hardcore comic book or hardcore DC guys know who Bane is, because he was the main villain in the concluding film of the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, and that's a big deal. So, you got to put him in that sort of list of the biggest Batman rogues, and the fact that his origin, his first appearance, and his entire origin were all covered in one shot. It's a very unique situation. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it's pretty cool that that's how it was rolled out, and that the character has found so much success, both with comic fans and movie fans. So, so as far as my personal take on it, or thoughts about it, it had been a long time since I had read it, but I think the first time I read it, I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it this time as well. I especially like the Graham Nolan pencils, like we were saying earlier. A lot of his work even reminded me of some Marvel Conan work, and from titles that he had nothing to do with. And I was like, wow, that's giving me Conan vibes or something, on some.
Yeah, I know some of the panels.
Yeah. So and even Romita Senior-ish kind of, vibes on some of the panels I got. So I don't know. I had not read a ton of stuff recently that Graham Nolan had illustrated, so it was a good sort of reminder of Nolan's work, another Nolan, in this title, which I definitely appreciated. And then from a story standpoint, I thought it's a great origin. It makes sense. You can put yourself in the mind frame of the Bane from now, and be like, okay, yeah, this, I buy this origin. You know what I mean? I totally buy this origin. So that's it. Those are my quick thoughts, I guess.
Yeah. So after this, we'll definitely dig into the art a little bit. But I don't think I'd actually ever read this. I knew the basics of his origin, but I don't reading this. I don't think I ever actually had read this part of it. I'd read Nightfall, but I don't think I'd ever actually read all of this, because some of it I just flat out don't remember. Some of it I felt like I remember just from generic Bane was in the prison and, he grew up there and all that kind of stuff. And I really enjoyed it. It sets him up as a strong character. It gives you a solid origin, a background, why he's doing this, why he thinks, to a certain degree, why he thinks he's important, why he thinks that he's, why
Batman became his target, Yeah.
And so I think it's an excellent setup for the character. I really, like you said, the Graham Nolan art, like the pencils and stuff, some of this is just like, let me go big. But just fantastic stuff. And I think that's the next place I'm going to go, is just talk a little bit about the art.
I love this page right here. What's this one?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and say it. Nolan is my favorite Batman artist.
Wow.
It goes along with my childhood though. Like Dan Jurgens is my favorite Superman. Nolan is my favorite Batman artist. Mark Bagley is my favorite Spider-Man artist. Like everything that I read as a kid, like the artists from that era is like my favorite of that character. And it's, I don't know, it might be slanted. It definitely is slanted, but it's what I enjoy.
Like when he's first pictured right there as a adult after going through all that horrific stuff as a kid.
Yeah.
Was it right there?
Yeah.
That's where I got the Conan vibes.
Yeah. Oh, when you said Conan, I was on the same page. Like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
One thing I will say, I don't totally understand how he acquired this Widow's Peak.
Oh yeah.
Overall, Graham Nolan's pencils. So many artists are not great at drawing children.
Right.
He did a really good job portraying him as a kid,
and
then just the progression as he went, like little changes. As each thing happens to him, let's see. You can sort of see when he says,
right here.
Sorry.
No, not you. Like, read the comments.
I was surprised that I enjoyed the inking work so much when it was done by Eduardo Barreto, who in previous stuff that we've covered, I did not like him as an artist. Like what was it, Gotham by Gaslight? I think he did that backup story or whatever. Yeah,
the part 2
that looked terrible.
Yeah,
but yeah, he did a decent job inking Nolan on this. I think.
No, there's just, like you said, there's definitely, like, even before that, like, just some of the stuff. Let me make myself big again, like where they're on the island, if I get the light right, and those guys just, yeah.
Oh yeah, that scene.
Yeah, it's just very.
Well, I think how cute Bane is. Like, little Bane is adorable, man. He's like crawling around the prison with his teddy bear, dude. Like,
love Bane.
And it's so, like, and it says it right here, like he knew no other place. Like he was set to life.
The writing is so poetic throughout this.
I have to call out this panel right here, though. I mean, that is the first time that they meet face to face right there, and that's such a cool panel.
Yeah, that was pretty badass.
Yeah, that is.
And on the next page, there's even a bigger Batman face on there. See that? Remember that one?
And that's the one where he said, "Get in line."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're threatening me? Get in line.
So cool.
In hindsight, being 2020, like that first face-to-face meeting, Batman should have thrown a batarang right at his face. And just fucked him up right on the spot, but he didn't.
You should write that "what if" version.
The super anticlimactic.
Right off the bat.
Hauled him off to Arkham. He's done. He'll never get out.
Yeah, because no one ever gets out of there.
much shorter story.
Yes, not quite as intriguing.
I will say, like, I actually like who's the colorist on this?
Ooh.
Adrian
Roy.
Adrian Roy. Like, I feel like he
Not
does
too
a really good
familiar
job
with
of adapting different, like,
colors.
almost like there's different color styles in this. Like,
Mhm.
like you get this scene where he's coming back on the beach, like, and everything's when they're escaping and everything's like night and lit, and then I just feel like there's so many different tones, and then like just a couple pages later, like it's classic kind of Batman villain kind of color, and
that's such a great panel, that Bane's like Gotham debut, where
yeah,
he into that where the mob's having their dinner or whatever.
Yeah, that was awesome.
and I just think that
Where they were doing all that, like New York use a
yeah,
use
huge.
gonna get in the news. Yeah, that was good.
I mean, the guy even looks like a badass in his underwear,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. He
Yeah.
gets into a knife fight later in his underwear.
more like a shard fight.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, that would be comical if it wasn't Bane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comical, get it? It's a comic book.
Mr. G, what's going on?
Yo, Geralt.
I love how he does like and this just makes me laugh because like the 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 sit-ups, 1,000 pull-ups. It's just like
And in between all that, he was reading 3 books a day, learning how to read.
I love that part of the origin, dude. I love that part of the origin. Like while the other inmates were were getting like crack, this guy's crack was books.
Yeah, I get books to him.
Books and push-ups, bitch.
And then you can be Bane. Hey, but right, what's going on?
Yeah, no, he was a good character. It was and I was like JP before we decided to do this, and I love Nightfall. I had never read Vengeance of Bane.
Oh wow!
I had the book in a 9.8, and I had not read the book yet. So
I don't think that would be a first time occurrence in this community, though. So.
Yeah, but,
I think you're good.
I do love reading books, but that
you read everything.
Yeah.
You want to know how I know I read this? There's a whole bunch of pressable defects on the cover. This was 13-year-old.
13-year-old bear didn't like take good care of his book. Is what you're saying?
13-year-old bear devoured this over and over, and probably tried to copy Graham Nolan's art. Nobody does the clenched fist, arm up against the side of the body, as well as. Let me try to find an example. Like in this one,
right?
How Bane is in this one.
That's a good one.
God, I'm so bad at this. The fucking fist right up against.
Yeah.
Graham Nolan did that so well.
Yeah.
Oh, actually,
Nightfall had some.
Oh, right there.
Dude, the list of artists on all of the Nightfall stuff is it's like total Hall of Fame, all-star level. It's Jim Aparo, Norm Brayfogle, Graham Nolan, Jim Balint, Brett Blevins, Klaus Janson, and Mike Manley. Like that's a pretty solid lineup of pencilers for the whole arc. But yeah, definitely a great start with Graham Nolan on this book.
I wish that Nightfall, and we're going ahead, but I wish they had better covers.
Really?
Okay.
Like
I loved the covers.
I haven't really because we weren't going to cover the.
Yeah, we haven't got to that.
I haven't given them a serious look and sort of made that.
We'll take that for another episode.
Some of them are good. Some of them are, but we'll deal with that later. We got to come back for that one, but
Shots fired at Kelly Jones.
But I might, I mean, I do like the Kelly Jones covers personally. I like it.
Yeah.
Kelly Jones taking a substantial hit.
I just sent in one of those Kelly Jones Detective Comics Nightfall books signed by Kelly Jones to CBCS in that order that I've been telling you guys about. Yeah,
that's awesome.
The one I got from RB3 in his 12 Days of Christmas or whatever. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So So anything else art-wise before we truly just dig into this origin story a little bit?
I think we covered the art.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
What's up, Gordon?
I think that's what we decided. So what do you think about this? The kid born in the prison and serving his father's term because...
That ain't fair.
Yeah, is that not jacked up or what?
That's a reason to be angry at the world, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, look, you were born and we couldn't put your father in prison, so we're putting you in prison.
Well, not only that, but if he had been born female, he would have
got to go free. Yeah.
It's only if you're a dude you had to serve the sentence, which is like if the mom commits the crime, does the girl go to like I don't know if like hopefully that's a double-sided coin.
Girls don't commit crimes.
I thought it was a little bit. I thought it was a little bit vague about the mother not lasting. I mean, I assumed it was all drugs or whatever that.
Oh, it covered it like basically like she's a farm girl who's religious. You know, she's a Christian, and she's completely separated from being outside sunlight from God.
Oh yeah,
like her hope and her will to live died. Her spirit died in that prison, and it took a physical toll.
Right.
And she was wild.
Still a little vague. Yeah.
It was kind of like, okay, she needs to die in order for his story to go where we want it to go. And we don't necessarily want it to be like an act of violence. We just want her to like die.
yeah. I guess that's like a choice a writer can make, to have more of a roundabout death instead of like a direct death.
Yeah.
This was before DC stuffed Kyle Rayner's girlfriend into a refrigerator. So
yeah, it's pre that. So
they let her die peacefully just for misery alone.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess after that, like after she's gone, he's alone. That brings us to Kavi's favorite character, I think. He said in the
how do you say his name again? I wrote that down.
Puerco.
The rapist.
Yeah, Puerco.
Oh. Yeah.
You'll become good.
He's like a Freddy Krueger-ish kind of guy.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to the next page, keep that up for me. You're going to meet a character named Trog on the next page.
There he is.
Who's
a Wolverine without the claws.
Who's a cool character, but I wrote notes. I put lazy name next to that. Trog is a very lazy name.
Well, like all his henchmen all are Trog, Bird, and Zombie.
Yeah.
A little bit like.
He reminds me of Danny DeVito a little bit.
Yeah, he's got a real like
Danny DeVito Wolverine.
I was picturing Danny DeVito.
It made me think of the word troglodyte. Like moron.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
But he's like an electronic guy, so
like he's all muscle and and arm hair.
Yeah.
But he's got a sense of justice, He's got a sense of right and wrong.
Well, and there was a social commentary there that he had killed 20 men in prison, which was twice as many people that he had killed to get him into the prison.
Yeah. So,
yeah, there's a little bit of prison commentary in this episode, in this issue.
You're saying this was a woke book.
Woke before woke even woke.
I mean, I don't know about that. It's Chuck Dixon.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We haven't even really brought up his name so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was it was written by Chuck Dixon, like where I don't know if I've read a ton of other stuff that he's written. I would have to actually look that information up, and I didn't.
He wrote a lot of Batman-related stuff in the 90s because he had a run on the Nightwing book.
That's a lot of that stuff I missed.
Yeah. He had a run on the Nightwing book. He had a little bit of a run on Batman. I think he wrote Birds of Prey for a while. He wrote...
unlike you guys, I had read Vengeance of Bane, but I haven't read Nightfall. Like I haven't read the rest.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to reading.
How how much Chuck Dixon and mine views of the world kind of line up, but man, can he write the shit out of the story? And then you had Denny O'Neil on top of that, probably doing a little copy editing. It was so poetic.
Yeah, Denny O'Neil is one of the best editors. Yeah.
It was very poetic. Like there was no wasted words here.
Mm-hmm.
So we get the whole thing of like his mother dies, he almost dies himself. When he wakes up, he's a different person, sort of like from his little coma.
Well, so he has like a vision, and so he falls off of a ledge, and while he's in a coma, he has a vision of future older Bane talking to him, letting him know that someday he's going to be like a real good pimp, and he's going to run the world, and the only thing that will oppose him is a bat.
Right.
So, which makes me think, did he actually have this damn vision, or is he just so sick in the head? Did he justify his motivations with like delusions, and like did his brain fill in pieces? Like it'd be a really weird dream to have.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the similarities between, like, he spends a lot of time when he gets sent to isolation, he has to kill a lot of rats. And this is just a conclusion I drew on my own, but like the little similarities between bats and rats may have played into it a little bit.
Yeah, so he got sent into solitary confinement for 10 years.
Yeah.
Because he killed the pedo dude that was trying to wrangle him up. He gave him a couple good stabs, and then he talked some good shit to the warden. The warden did not like that, but the whole prison was like, yeah, this kid's going places.
Yeah, he emerged a legend, they said.
Yes.
Well, but then that's where, like that scene I showed before, like he says he meditates, and he basically had all these delusions of fighting this giant bat.
Right. He meditates instead of sleeps.
Yeah. And like he has all these visions, and he's always fighting this giant bat creature, and it's like, okay, this guy's not completely sound in the head.
Well, apparently his vision guy or future self said that the only thing that will be in his way is fear, and his interpretation of fear was a bat.
Yeah.
And then later on, the name Batman. I forget who brings up the name Batman.
It's like, by the way, Bird, who's in charge of Gotham? And he's like, I guess it's Batman.
Right. Yeah. So it like sets him off basically because
triggered
whole connection. Yeah, it triggers him.
They maybe should have done a scene in this issue with, kind of like similar to what Bruce went through, where he had a bat trauma.
Right.
I think that would have explained the story better, where Batman embraced the bat and wanted to become it, and Bane wanted to fight against it. Like
it's something to justify why the bat represented his fear, other than just it did.
Yeah, it was a little. That was the most quote unquote convenient part.
There's another one that I'll get to.
No,
it was wildly convenient.
Wildly convenient.
I didn't totally get the bat connection personally, but
it just felt like, because they talk about his fear as a thing he has to overcome, and he sees it as a bat, but there's never any explanation of why he chooses a bat.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't even show a bat up until that point. Like,
because comics, right?
Yeah.
I did find it pretty cool that, like, I know we're skipping a little bit ahead here, that like when he made his escape, like and this was after he had gone through the venom treatments and stuff like that, like the super serum and whatnot, how he tricked them into thinking he was dead or whatever. Like he slowed his heartbeat down to nothing or whatever.
That was my wildly convenient thing I was
That's what, yeah.
So he literally makes the heart monitor think that he's dead. He wills his vital signs to flatline.
I had the same. I've
never done that.
I feel like I've seen that in a movie or something.
A few times. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I had the same reaction, but the actual page itself where he gets thrown off the ledge, and then he gets to take down that shark from the inside or whatever.
Oh yeah, he whoops the tar.
That was awesome. Yeah,
you do.
Yeah.
I think maybe my favorite thing in this entire book is he goes to all this trouble to escape. And the first fucking thing he does is go back to kill the warden. He's like, I'm going back into that prison right away.
I'm going to get that warden. Yeah.
First order of business, going back in.
He's going in.
Well, and then he got all his followers as a result.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And he got him to send him a helicopter just because he had the warden, which I find like unlikely. But
that was a little
convenient.
But
like this helicopter's just gonna take him. Okay.
Yeah, they're like, okay, here you go. Here's your helicopter.
The government probably really underestimated like what they were giving a helicopter to.
Well, so here's the thing. I don't think so, because what you see in that one panel is the guy smirking as one of the guys that worked on him. So I think like they wanted to see what he would do after they'd given him the venom.
Good call.
So
is that a connection that ever gets further fleshed out in the rest of Nightfall, or
not that I remember?
Okay,
but like, so I do wish they'd have like had that a little more, because even the elements conspired with him, and it's showing that guy. But I wish they had have like elaborated on that, because it was super convenient the way they let him just get away.
Also, remember this isn't the U.S. This is like small type third world.
Right? Because like the whole time in your head, you're picturing like an Alcatraz style situation, you know, a little island prison thing, but it's not supposed to be in the United States. It's supposed to be in Latin America somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's
Santa Prisca.
Right.
You know,
Santa Prisca.
Santa Prisca, yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever the hell that is. It's something in
Latin America.
The Caribbean Republic of Santa Prisca.
There you go. Caribbean Republic of Santa
Caribbean.
I do love how when he escapes, though, and he throws the warden out of the helicopter, he throws the bear from when he was
I love that, yeah.
Yeah, no, that
here's
was
a little
good
parting
scene.
gift here for you.
That part hit home for me.
Oh, you threw the bear out of the helicopter.
Oh, the poor bear.
I could have done without that part.
I'm glad they let the D ride in the helicopter.
Very
Does have a little kind of Monte Cristo kind of to it, a little bit.
Oh, I definitely thought
themes.
Just the fact that he was in there for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For like a dumb reason, you know?
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, he was in prison to begin with for a dumb reason, and then he got put in solitary because the warden decided he was afraid of a little kid. It was so weird.
And he was the whole point of that prison though is that it's like it's not meant to be fair.
Yeah.
It's meant to be the worst punishment you can get. So really, like when you lip off to the warden, you're gonna get punished for it. So that's why he became legendary. It's like no one did it before. Like or if they did it, they didn't try. Yeah. And he never
like all the warden has done by putting him in solitary for all that time, because it's when he comes out, he's basically the prisoner's god, like that he survived that.
Yeah, and no one else in there had as good of a reason as him to be angry, because all of them earned their way into that prison. He was born into that prison, so he had extra incentive to be pissed at the world and escape, because he had never known any other life, and that's not fair.
We kind of skipped over it, but on page 14 of the story, before he becomes like fully a man, but he emerges out of that coma, I think.
Before the bar mitzvah?
That's when he gets his name. Like that, I think it's like the warden says, "I will not have such abominations in my prison. He is a bane to everything holy," or whatever. So that's the first page where he's referenced as Bane. Whatever.
Oh yeah, that's after he kills the
right. Yeah. Puerco, I think, right?
Pedophile guy.
Puerco.
Yeah.
Puerco.
And so he was named.
Yeah. Sam Ham says, it seems all the wardens in the DC universe are really bad at their jobs.
Correct.
Well, this one needed a really, I think this warden was actually kind of good at his job, even though to be good at his job, he had to be kind of evil.
Mm-hmm.
It took a lot of circumstances to build Bane.
Yeah.
And he was ruling over this prison for quite a bit of time. And unlike Arkham, they weren't like having a lot of people escape. Like
Right.
you were the only way you were getting out of this prison was over the cliff into the shark den.
Yeah.
And you usually only happen when you flatlined and you're dead. So this guy wasn't so bad at his job. He just happened to be in the prison that Bane was like.
Yeah.
Well, and he helped create, but he also like everything he did helped create it. Like,
Oh yeah, no, he was a big part of it.
most people wouldn't have survived it, but because he did, like it basically made Bane Bane. Like, not just did he name him, but he also created him by throwing him in solitary and by putting him up for the Venom program, and in trying to eliminate him, he ultimately created him. He made him strong. Everything he did actually just kept making him stronger.
Well, if you look at what he went through, so he was born there. He survived being an infant. Like his mother didn't trade him to for goods and services, and he survived his mom. Yeah, no, absolutely. But then he didn't. He survived being after she passed away, and then he survived that. He killed that pedophile dude. He survived 10 years of solitary confinement, and then he came out of that and kept surviving. And then he survived the Bane Venom treatment. Like everything else that he had survived has killed the previous people that went through that. Like he was just purely a survivor.
And by the way, that warden was supplying, test subjects for the Venom experiments. I love the one line where the warden's like, "Another one has died. What is the point of all these experiments?" And the guy's like, "What, are you afraid you're going to run out of prisoners?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Had some more people pop in. Thunder House, what's going on? Ruben, thanks for joining us. I don't know if I ever shouted out Gore Vidal. Double A Comics, what's going on? Guys, thanks for hanging out with us while we're talking Bane.
Burn.
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 I know we're not back on the art again. I don't know if we missed this one. This panel in particular, I love.
The Batman.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the scene where the moon is dangerously close to the Earth.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah! Wow, that moon.
Such a cool panel.
And then here goes another panel of his friend Bird with a wicked mullet.
Oh, there's so many great mullets in this.
There are some fantastic mullets in this.
And there's a guy with a metal nose.
Oh yeah, dude, that guy.
That freaked me out. I'm like, what the hell? How does that
random? Well, like the Dick Tracy gangster. Yeah, that's got the.
Dude, that's a great way to say that. Good one.
Right, put it up there, Bear. I'll put you up. Hey,
no, that's okay. You got it.
Right.
You're better at aiming it than I am.
I don't know about that.
There we go.
Yeah, it's like totally a Dick Tracy. Other than what do they call? I forget what they call him. I don't remember now.
It's something
no-nos.
What?
It's something no-nos.
It is something. Yeah.
Jimmy no-nos.
Jimmy no-nos.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally a Dick Tracy gangster. It's like.
No, here's a good close-up of
there
him.
You go. There you got the close-up of him.
No-nos.
Yeah, Jimmy no-nos.
Guys.
What happens when he sneezes?
It's brutal.
That's gonna hurt. Yeah.
It comes out of his eye. It's not good.
Little thumbtacks come out?
Yeah. Bad.
Bane had good henchmen. Yeah.
Dude, he did. He had some loyal people that.
They were loyal. Yeah, they're very loyal in this.
He was rooting for them.
And like that Bird guy with the really good mullet, he realized like pretty early on, like, wow, this guy is really like a force, and he's someone I should get behind.
Did you guys notice page 48?
No, I skipped over that page when I was reading it.
Yeah, that one sucked.
I know that's your least favorite page of every comic. There's almost like a Three Stooges tribute on this page. Like all the henchmen.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
It's like Larry, Moe, and Curly.
Oh, Larry, Curly, they're all there.
Wait, which one?
Dude,
Yeah.
Page 48 of the story.
So here's
Story page 48.
one of them.
So there's
when he's fighting the
there's Larry. There's Mo and Curly.
Curly.
oh yeah, nice.
Little Easter egg or something.
Yeah, dude, that's
I didn't even catch that.
That's why I'm here, boys. That's why I'm
There
here.
you go. I mean, I thought that whole the Gotham section of the story, which is what, the last 20 pages or so, 15 pages, something like that. I thought to a certain degree it was maybe a little anticlimactic. Like, it was really exciting. It's really exciting when they meet in that panel, you know, for the first time or whatever. But you know, it's a very open-ended conclusion. You know what I mean?
You think that it's leading to a confrontation, and I guess there is a confrontation because we do get that great panel with like facing off, but they don't actually like fight. Like, Bane just sort of like introduces himself and leaves.
Right, and then when his guys come up to him like, "Why'd you let him go?" You know, he's like, "I'm a stranger to this place. I need to learn the ways and you know, whatever the history of Gotham before I, you know, really go after this guy or whatever." Which was like
that iconic panel at the end with the fire and his mask, and that, you know, that wrong button.
He was following Batman for like 8 pages or something before they actually
stalking.
Yeah, stalking.
He's basically like, I'm going to creep on you for a few more issues so we can milk this.
Right.
Well, he knows, like, the whole rest of this volume is like just him creeping before Nightfall even starts.
Yeah.
This is all before Nightfall starts, and then
it's just Bird following him and stuff.
Yeah. It's basically him, like the end. Like, if you get to the end of this, which we're not thing, where he releases all the prisoners, it's all about like watching and testing and like trying to push him to his limits before they actually face. And yeah, he just does this for a really long time.
Yeah,
he's very patient for a psycho, which most of Batman villains aren't really patient.
It's their main flaw; they lack patience.
Yeah,
right.
Well, and with that panel that we were talking about with their first appearance, you know, like, you know, confronting each other.
First meeting.
I think it almost works better for
meet cute.
Okay. Well, it works better for me, like, not having read it before, because when you're first reading that, you don't really know that you're meeting, like, seeing the first meeting between a really serious story.
Right.
Like, you get that panel, you know, the very next page has Batman smirking and saying, you know, "You're threatening me. Get in line." Like,
get in line.
Yeah.
Like,
he's like, "Get in line, you bitch!" Like, you're like villain number 30 on the totem pole right now.
Yeah, look at that smirk. Like, you just, like, seeing that when Batman's that confident, like, it's not good for the villain. And like this one, like it was a different.
No, but it's a brilliant setup for what, you know, for what's to come later. You know, it's brilliant.
Well, I mean, and it's really a smart move, like, because they criticize him. You let him get away, and he's like, "I let him live." There's a difference. It's actually a smart move. Bane doesn't take Batman on without knowing what he's dealing with for sure. Like, he has an idea he's following for a little while, but he wants to know, like, before he fights him, he wants to know that he's going to win. And it's, you know, and that's really what Nightfall is all about. It's him putting Batman in a position where he guarantees he's going to win. And like,
Thunderhouse making a good comment. He was like, it was back in the day when they built a character up for a year before the conflict, like Cates is doing it. No, but not as extreme.
Yeah.
It was really messed up when Bane killed Galactus.
Right.
That's like your dream.
And held the Infinity Gauntlet for the first time.
Yeah.
There was a little detail I really liked towards the end where, you know, Bullock and Montoya arrive at the crime scene, and Montoya's like, "Oh, these guys are all really dead," and there was one that's alive, and she's like, "Who did this to you?" And the guy says, "It was that Batman creep." Like these guys mistook. Like Bane is already on such a level that he can be mistaken for Batman in the dark.
Right.
Like, it was all in the dark, so they couldn't tell who it was. But they're like, "Oh God, this must be Batman." He's like, and those are bad guys who like know how big Batman is. You know.
Well, the other thing though is the one that survived was the one that almost fell that Batman was helping. Like he helped him up. So
he held him. He pulled him up off the ledge.
He pulled him up, and then he got up, and he probably didn't even register that Bane was even there. Meanwhile, while Batman was helping him, is when Bane killed all the other guys.
Yeah.
Well, and you got to think about it. Like your Jokers and your Riddlers and Penguins probably have a good understanding that Batman's not going to kill you. But if you're just like a low-level thug, you may not be under that impression, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I would be worried about Batman offing me if I was, and
number 3?
Yeah, because, dude, like, I am a henchman, man. Like, I'm not, the top of the totem pole here. Like, Batman, I'd be definitely afraid of that. Yeah.
I saw the Last Con trailer, and I'm pretty sure you're not a henchman in that trailer. I'm pretty sure you're like the main event of that trailer. So just for the,
Speaking of stars, Bullock has one of my favorite lines of the issue, where they arrive at Jimmy No Nose's place and see that he's dead, and he goes, "Yeah, it looks like Jimmy No Nose Novak. Gonna have to change that to no nose, lips, ears, or eyes."
Yeah, that was good.
I love Bullock.
Bullock had more of a role in this than Gordon did. Like Gordon was in it for like 2 pages or something.
Yeah. Yeah, Bullock and Montoya show up a bunch, and I love he's saying that, and Montoya's like, "You're cracking me up here, Harv." Like, and then the other officers puking in the background. Yeah.
Great choice of sound effect too, by the way.
Oh, dude, that's
perfect.
Trying not to throw up puking sound.
Yeah.
I also loved on this comes real close to copyright infringement right here. I think Batman's activating his little. I don't know if you can see that, but it says.
Oh, right,
Snicked, right? I did notice that.
And I'm like, oh well, one more letter and you're in trouble.
Yeah.
It's cool though, because a few panels later, the lights get turned on, and it kind of he doesn't enjoy.
How Bane gets away from him as the lights go on, and like he can't track him. So.
He's
but
like,
I do love like where
scream it.
You will scream it.
You will not forget your day, and on the day you will beg for mercy.
Which is like something you could say on a first date or when you first meet your mortal enemy.
Oh man!
I ordered the prime rib and you took it from me.
And then you didn't even eat it.
Oh, that was good.
Not bad.
Yeah, dude, that took it up a notch. Good job.
So I just, I'll never be able to hear it like that. I will say that the whole time that was the voice Bane was speaking in my head. The whole time I read this, it's probably colored my enjoyment a little bit.
Oh yeah, no.
Thank you.
I'll never be able to hear like a different Bane voice now.
Well, what's cool about the Harley Quinn Bane voice is it's making fun of the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Movie hadn't.
Yeah, and both of those are definitive in my.
I still do not understand what he's saying half the time in The Dark Knight Rises if I'm watching without subtitles. So.
Really?
Yeah, I have to watch it.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Especially when they're in that airplane.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one's impossible almost.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is how you're introducing the character. Huh? Okay.
So where do we rank this sucker?
Excuse me.
Can you rank something to be determined?
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard to rank it because it's not. I mean, Batman's in it for like, maybe 12 pages or something, and it's not really. It's pretty much all about Bane.
I think if you're going to rank this, you kind of would have to include it in with the entire Nightfall epic.
Right.
Like you're digesting.
We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait till we actually talk about the whole story to rank Nightfall.
But it's your guys' show. If you want to rank it immediately, right now, put it on the list. JP, hold it up. You can do it.
Well, it goes on the list regardless, because
it's going on the list. This is the list of just all the stuff we've read. Here, make myself.
Yeah, get in there.
Not counting this one, I haven't written it on there yet. But
wow, Hush is that high, huh?
No, that's
the order. That's the order in which we did the shows.
Yeah, I keep moving the wrong one. There you go. So yeah, that's just the order we did them. Like, so the only I've just broken down. I've gotten rid of ranking them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever.
Right. It's like
I
top, the top tier, the bottom tier, and the middle tier is kind of.
Yeah, I have 5 tiers. And
5 tiers. I only have 3 really.
Yeah,
I have the best of the best. I have great. I have really good. I have and I have bad.
What's the difference between great and really good?
And then you have It's a Trap.
Oh man!
To me, what I have, the top tier, the only 2 in the top tier that we've read for me are Year One and Long Halloween. To me, they're in a different tier than any of the rest of them that we've read. And then the stuff that I consider great would be White Knight, The Cult, Court of Owls, Hush. That stuff I consider kind of great. And then the stuff that's just really good, but not spectacular, I have Black Mirror, Year 100, Under the Red Hood, Gotham Central, Harleen is kind of in that tier. To me, this probably goes in the just below that in the Death in the Family, Earth 1 kind of tier, just because it's not complete by itself. This one it's a really good origin, but it's really just an origin, and yeah, that's just where I would put it. So if I was ranking it out of the 20, it would be around just outside the top 10. It would be somewhere in that 11 to 15ish range, probably, on its own, which is still good. I still enjoyed it, but it's just not. There's not enough to bump it to above some of that stuff that's above it, because it's kind of an incomplete.
Yeah, I mean, on its own, I would not have it in my top 10 of the 20 that we've done. I would have it in the bottom 10. Exactly where in the bottom 10, I would have to
think about. Yeah.
Yeah, then I would have to compare this to the other books, the other 9 books in the bottom 10 and make a decision on that. But it would definitely be in the bottom 10 of the overall 20, and probably somewhere around what you're saying. In that 11 to 15 slot. So I'm on the same page. We have not covered Dark Knight Returns, which there's a question in the chat about that yet. We will eventually, but
might need to make that a multi-episode one, because man, that might be number 1.
Yeah. We've been everyone's when are you doing Dark Knight Returns? And we've just been not doing it. It's sort of because everybody wants us to do it.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that just a dick move on your guys' part?
Yeah, you're not
holding it just because you can?
Pretty much.
Yeah. I enjoy that kind of behavior. Good job.
Boss me.
You subscribe to my channel, will you? Well, I won't give you what you want. I tell you.
Subscribe here for videos you don't want to see.
Yeah. Oh, Dark Knight. Here's interesting where we'll rank Dark Knight Returns versus Year One. I know where I rank it now, but it's been a long time since I read Dark Knight Returns. I know where, mentally, where it goes in, my top 5, but I won't. Yeah, but we'll see, because it's been years since I've read it, so I may change. Because I know Hush on the reread was not as good. It does not rank as high as it used to for me.
Right.
So
yeah, I read Year One every single year. I don't read Dark Knight Returns every single year, so that could tell you automatically where my head's at with it.
Yeah.
Pat Wall, what's going on?
Hey, Pat. It hasn't showed up in StreamYard yet, so that's why I haven't clicked on you. But, Bear, what about you? Where does this rank in of the Batman stories you've read, and where does this fit for you?
Like I've said, I haven't read a ton yet. still need to round out my knowledge of Batman. But I if I'm going to go 3 tiers like Kavi does, I would put it in the middle, but like high middle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, if I did like 3 tiers like Kavi did, then basically my tier 1 and 2 would combine into one. Tier 3 and most of tier 4 would be one, and then the bottom of tier 4 and tier 5 would be one. Like it would. I could split it into 3.
Yeah, proportionally speaking, that's the same thing. Really.
Yeah. I just am splitting it out a little bit more. What about you, D-Runk? Where does Vengeance of Bane rank?
I do not count this at all as a Batman story, so I wouldn't even rank it in that list. I consider it a really good origin story for a villain, and for a story that I loved as a kid. So, and I'm glad I read it. Because like JP, I knew. He was great. He grew up in a prison, and it was bullshit. He shouldn't have been there. It was unfair as fuck. And but getting to see all the specifics was really good. Very well written. Very poetic. I enjoyed it very much. Bear, wake the fuck up. What are you doing over there?
I'm totally.
Yeah, you were meditating like Bane.
Are you kidding? I have 2 more hours of working the last con tonight.
I was gonna say he's making edits on the last con.
He's editing while you're talking.
He's like mentally, working.
You're like, okay, I could do this.
On code machine.
You're just talking now. I can think about the last con for a minute. So, but that is a good point, George. So, where do you guys like? What other like great origins would you compare this to? Like great villain origin stories? Because I'm trying to, at the moment, I'm having a hard time thinking of any that are true.
Well, usually the great origin story is not the first appearance.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I'll tell you another one, and I don't care. I'll take it there. But Superman, Doomsday. I love his origin story, but it's not told until like a couple of years after the death of Superman.
Right.
I love Doomsday's origin story a lot. One of my favorite reads, but it's a very good origin story. It leans a little bit too much into I call it like an orgy of evidence that his life sucked.
Yeah.
And, it was, and that's Bane, and that's what made him Bane. Like,
well, I think the unique part of it is that he has a definitive origin story, and a lot of other big villains have like several origin stories, and you have
several versions. Yeah,
choose which one like is your, the one you have in your head when thinking of that villain. Like, so in that regard, I think it's pretty high up there for origin stories.
Yeah, they've never redone it. They've never retackled it. Like we talked about earlier in this list, we talked about Harleen, and Harley's been around about the same amount of time, and they've redone her origin like 4 times. Like they've tweaked it and changed it a little bit, like several times. And Bane, this has been the standard. Like nobody's felt the need to go back and mess with this. So I think it says a lot about this as an origin story.
Yeah,
they haven't tried to redo it.
See, Patrick Wall says Red Hood is one of the best, but that is, which I agree with, but it's one of the ones that they've had to change a few times.
Right.
Yeah, Red Hood
has a different character.
He's not a pure villain, and neither is Harley. So Bane's kind of unique in that regard.
Definitely.
I like that. They made you root for Bane in this story, which I think is an effective way of building up a villain. That's what they did with Thanos in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like when you're reading,
I never rooted for Thanos.
Escapes the prison. Like he is. I mean, it's very much. They do a very effective job in a Batman, because it's titled Batman: The Vengeance of Bane, of making Bane the hero of his tale.
Yeah.
Like in this origin, like from you're rooting for Bane to get to a certain degree. Especially if you read this and didn't know what was to come, you're rooting for Bane to get out of the prison until he like actually has the face down with Batman. That's the character you're rooting for in this to a certain degree. So, So that it's very effective in that way, I think.
That's what I should have said. I wasn't rooting for Thanos. I don't know what I'm thinking.
Right, sympathetic villain.
Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't think Thanos was even sympathetic. Like,
no, but he was the hero. He was
Thanos.
the main part of that story.
Okay.
He was the dominant character in that story.
Very true. Okay, yeah. Avengers: Infinity War should have been.
In that case, they altered the reasoning for his justification for eliminating half of the universe.
Yeah.
Or whatever, in a way that was more believable than just, I'm obsessed with Lady Death, and
I'm in love
with death, and I want to
impress her by killing everyone.
Yeah, so in that regard, like, I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, they changed that detail in a way from Infinity Gauntlet to not make you necessarily root for him, but like to sort of empathize maybe, or not even empathize, maybe consider his viewpoint. You know what I mean? Just to at least consider it. So
right.
Yeah.
Not every fiber of your being is like. No
yeah.
way.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we are just crossed the hour mark. You guys want to give any final thoughts on this before we wrap this up? Let's start with. We started with Bear. Well, let's start with Bear again. What do you got? What are your final thoughts on this?
My final thought is, especially in this year, it's fun to look back at 1993 and just be like, man, things were just simple and fun, and you're just looking forward to getting your next comic and getting to your next junior high class and Do Girls Like Me, and just all this. It's just such an innocent, pure time, and then you get to read about Bane trying to avoid prison rape, and life was just great and simple.
What about you, D-Runk? What's your final thoughts on Vengeance of Bane?
Man, it was a fun read. Like Bear. I mean, we're all all four of us are, within, like, I'd say probably 5 or 6 years age wise. Like, this definitely brings you back to being a kid. Even though I didn't read it as a kid, it fits into that one of my favorite stories as a kid. So
nice.
But you, Kavi?
I mean, I did read it a long, long time ago, and it had been a really, really long time. So, like, just like Bear, I got some nostalgia out of it. But it also wet my beak, if you will, to use a Jimmy No No's phrase. It wet my beak for Nightfall because, like, I didn't get to dive into that whole thing just yet. So I'm excited to actually dive into it now. So
yeah, for me, it was just. Like I said, I'd never read it before. It was nice to actually get, like, I knew the origin, but I never actually read it. It was nice to actually get the full picture. It lived up to what I hoped it would be. It wasn't, it's not like this fantastic story in terms of just like blow you away, but it's really solid. The art is great. It does a great job of setting him up. And yeah, I just really enjoyed reading it and getting back into this, like, time period, because I did devour Nightfall as a kid. I just didn't ever get Vengeance of Bane. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're going to do Nightfall next, but probably soon. We'll probably try to jump into Nightfall at some point.
It's a big ass read. So
maybe we do some shorter ones in between, and then just commit to Nightfall.
Yeah.
At some point after
but
that.
I'm in when Nightfall happens. I'm back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When Nightfall, D-Runk rises.
All right.
All right.
So, but we will definitely get to the rest of Nightfall at some point.
That's what he said.
Relatively soon. But you guys got anything?
D-Runk rises.
D-Runk rises. There you go. Anything you guys want to talk about going on your channel? D-Runk, you got anything coming up?
Just check out the trailer I had for the last con. It was really, really good.
You are so
The views. Who's winning?
Oh, dude, you're winning the views.
I am.
yeah, because we
Right.
directed everybody to go to you. Like we
I know. You guys still just get more traffic in general than I do.
yeah,
You directed
we're
everyone to
going to you to watch it. Yeah,
I've watched it on your channel like 50 times.
I've
So
watched it like 20
That's the reason. Okay.
And every time I've shared the link with like a friend or someone that would like be interested in it, I've
It's
shared your link.
yeah, I send anyone that asks me about it, I send to your channel. So,
Oh, thanks.
but
Yeah,
anything else, George?
No, I'm standing by, holding my breath, waiting for last con. That is all that I have in my life right now.
Hell yeah.
But then Kavi and I don't get to pick what we want, so yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. This is not a democracy, so
No,
Yeah, you're like the warden.
this is a double dictatorship. That
yeah,
Lucy and I
this show is very much a dictatorship. What about you, Kavi? You got anything coming up?
Oh, we're not going to ask Bear? We wonder what he's working
I was going to save him, even though George talked about it already. I was going to save him for
on. Yeah,
last.
we know what Bear's working on. I can't wait for the last con. I mean, honestly, like what I know, I might be working on some stuff, but nothing compares to my excitement for when that's going to drop. So I have a AOK from Unruly that I need to unbox. So that's probably going to be the next thing I do. And I'll probably be hanging out tomorrow night on Los's. Los is doing a 2-year YouTube anniversary or whatever tomorrow.
Los anniversary.
Yeah,
That's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably do the look back stuff and unset this weekend. But really, the only thing I'm looking forward to is the last con, as you guys talked about. So excited about that. And yeah, I'm not gonna pitch anything else. Bear, what do you have coming up on your channel?
You know me, nothing much.
Not much. Here, what is Ricky?
Oh, he doesn't like it when you do that. Stop.
He doesn't like that.
No, stop. Look at him. He's working on it right now. Look at him. What?
Sell it. Let's go.
I'm maybe working on it a little bit.
Yeah. Are you working on it right now instead of talking to us?
No, I'll say this. If you're watching the show and you're in the chat and you have not seen the Last Con C2E2 story trailer, it's on all of our channels so that you can't miss it. We would prefer you to watch it on Bear Island's channel because he made the trailer. If you're going to watch it on someone after that, watch it on mine because I starred in it heavily. But
I barely appear. It's okay.
yeah, but it's
We're like extras, and
yeah.
he's the star.
Is that an official complaint, JP?
No, I'm just George is a star. I'm like the sidekick.
Oh, now I got to go back and add more JP to the action.
I am not complaining.
Just finished the outtakes, and there's not enough JP. God damn it!
It's because I think I played a little more straight than George did. So.
Thunderhouse got the right idea. He's like, I watched it on each of your channels. So
There you go.
baby.
Thank you, Thunderhouse. Hey, Silver Age Day, what's going on, man?
What's going on?
We're about to get out of here, but thank you for joining us.
JP is definitely, he plays the role in the overall video of the storyteller. Like he was there for a bunch of
Right.
stuff that happened, and he does a great job of summing up some controversial events. Let's put it that way.
George brings the humor, and that's somebody's got to.
George brings the humor. Kavi brings like this next level wisdom, and then just all over the map.
And I'll tell you, like real life, and we'll make this short, but so I went through like a 6-week seminar, like a management seminar, like to become a salaried manager with a company that I was working for. And like towards the end of it, the dude pulled me aside and he's like, why do you always inject humor in everything you do? And I asked him, I was like, and I wasn't being funny. I was like, is that going to be a problem? And he's like, well, it might make people take you less serious. I'm like, it's me, man. I'm not going to stop being myself. So I can still hold people accountable. I can still do my job. I can still, but I like to laugh. And if I can make other people laugh too, that's cool. So fuck off, manager training guy. And
that's why your employees love you, George.
Yeah, that's why they love me.
Literally.
I'm sure he's going to watch this on the rewind.
All right, I think we're gonna get out of here. We don't know what we're doing next,
everybody,
but we'll be back in a month or so because that's not how often we do it. So I want to thank everybody for hanging out, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks for having me.